You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button.
Well, we've been keeping an eye on the LSU coaching staff and wondering when Brian Kelly was going to fill the staff. And we've seen a lot of goings among support staff and some additions. Notably, we've talked about some of the analysts that LSU has added and support staff personnel. But on Wednesday, it was Matt Zenitz, Wilson Alexander, among others, reporting that LSU is set to hire Alex Atkins as its new tight ends coach and running game coordinator. So to be very clear, so there's no confusion whatsoever, I love this hire. So I want to give you a little bit of background on Alex Atkins, if you're not familiar, because this is a massive get both on the field and in recruiting for LSU. And something that's pretty consistent right now when you look at Brian Kelly's current staff is you have a whole bunch of dudes that, quite honestly, are overqualified for their jobs. I'll tell you more. So Alex Atkins recently was fired by Florida State. He was their offensive coordinator. And you may look at that and go, you mean the team that was just a 2-win football team? Why are you doing backflips over adding that guy? Yeah, a year before he was the offensive coordinator of the team that was undefeated, 13-0, and got jobbed by the College Football Playoff Committee. Before that, Atkins played at Tennessee Martin, started his career as a GA there, did coach tight ends at Tennessee Martin back in 2008. He's gone to Marshall. He was at Itabena Community College with Gabe Fertitta, incidentally, the former Catholic High coach who was with him at Florida State and now is the OC at Nichols. He coached offensive line at Chattanooga, offensive line at Georgia Southern, spent 3 years at Tulane as the offensive line coach and associate head coach. Then went to Charlotte for a season, then to Florida State as the offensive line coach under Mike Norvell, and would eventually be promoted as the offensive coordinator. I want to remind you that in 2021, when Ed Ogeron was looking to hire an offensive line coach, he tried to hire Alex Atkins. So we talked about Atkins then. Atkins decided to stay at Florida State under Mike Norvell. Okay. LSU hired Brad Davis. That's worked out pretty well. Now you got both guys on staff. Brad Davis is your offensive line coach. Alex Atkins, your tight end coach and run game coordinator. Again, we're still at this moment waiting for it to be official by LSU, but all reports are that this is done. So you've got a guy that is a great offensive line coach that has coached tight ends, a guy that has familiarity with the state of Louisiana, having been at Tulane for 3 years, and familiarity with staff members as well. Another thing that is very evident when you look at the staff Brian Kelly has hired. Now remember, a day ago we talked about all of the changes on Brian Kelly's staff. And as of right now, the only guy on staff, talking about support staff as well, with Jazz Smith being gone and Beth Rex being gone, man or woman. The only staff member that he brought with him from Notre Dame who's still here is Jake Flint. Look at Brian Kelly's staff. Every member of Brian Kelly's staff has ties to Louisiana. Every member of this on-field coaching staff. Frank Wilson from New Orleans, we know his history. Joe Sloan, of course, coached at Tech for almost a decade before he came to LSU. Blake Baker, wife's from Louisiana, coached at LSU prior. Cortez Hankton from New Orleans. Brad Davis from Baton Rouge. Bo Davis played at LSU. Corey Raymond played at LSU. Kevin Peoples coached at Tulane. And Jake Olson has coached at Nichols, ULM, and Northwestern State. And now you're adding Alex Atkins, who also coached at Tulane. Every single member of Brian Kelly's staff has ties to Louisiana. Eureka. He's figured it out. You better get dudes that know this state, because the greatest advantage you have is this state. I could go through and talk about Alex Atkins as a play caller. I could talk about his prowess as an offensive line coach. There's plenty. Another component, of course, is his recruiting ability. Now, I want to remind you, the biggest coup that LSU pulled off on signing day was Solomon Thomas. Solomon Thomas, 5-star offensive lineman, had been committed to Florida State. Even amid that awful season, he stayed committed to Florida State. Only when Alex Atkins was fired did Solomon Thomas open up his recruitment process. And this was an interview that Solomon Thomas did with Rivals on December 29th about how and why he ended up at LSU.
I went to a practice and I asked my coach, my ex-coach at Florida State, about the offensive line coach at LSU. He was like, he's a great dude on and off the field. He'll take care of you, beyond the football aspect of it. And that's always been a guy who I've wanted to, play for.
So Alex Atkins had a hand in you ending up at LSU even after he had you committed at FSU.
Mm-hmm. How about that? Oh, by the way, this is Solomon Thomas talking about the reason he initially was even committed to Florida State.
Atkins became almost like a father figure to me, a father figure, a friend, somebody I can talk the Bible about. And it was nobody really like to replace him, really, or somebody I can just see replacing him at Florida State because I was there for him. In any interview I've ever done, I've always talked about how Atkins was the reason why I wanted to be at Florida State. And he was the reason why I started to like Florida State in the first place.
Okay, that's a 5-star offensive lineman. The major coup LSU got on signing day was flipping Solomon Thomas. That's him saying, I was at Florida State because of Alex Atkins, and the reason I'm at LSU is Alex Atkins told me to go there to play for Brad Davis. Well, guess what? Now Alex Atkins is on staff at LSU as well. Ching, ching. I mean, so many reasons to love this. Now, look, he's got the run game coordinator title, so he'll get a coordinator salary as well, but certainly not what he was being paid by Florida State. But remember, he's still being paid by Florida State because he's collecting a buyout at Florida State. Money wasn't going to be the be-all, end-all here. And then you start talking about the ability to collaborate offensively. I mean, Alex Atkins was the OC at Florida State when they were undefeated in 2023. This was Mike Norvell about Alex Atkins in his first season as the offensive coordinator there at Florida State.
Just a great leadership. I mean, all the things that he does and brings from a technique, fundamental development with his players, with this offense. I mean, Alex has, he has done just a remarkable job with that room. And now taking on a bigger role with the offense in general, you see his impact. And I'm just so happy for him and that he's getting that recognition because it's definitely well earned and well deserved.
Obviously, that's Mike Norvell, who, after Florida State won 2 games this year, fired Alex Atkins, but heads had a roll. The coordinator's left, and now Mike Norvell is the last man standing there in Tallahassee. But Florida State's loss is LSU's gain here. And then think about the collaboration on staff. I mean, think about guys that have been head coaches or offensive coordinators on your staff. Brian Kelly, Joe Sloan, Cortez Hankton, Alex Atkins, Frank Wilson. I mean, Brad Davis was the interim head coach at LSU, of course, but he was also a co-offensive coordinator, James Madison, earlier in his career. All of your offensive coaches have either been OCs or head coaches at some point in their career. I mean, Brian Kelly has assembled a pretty remarkable staff, and he's matched it now with the talent. Just another reason to think, man, this is it, y'all. I mean, 2025 is the year. You going to make a run. It is a path paved in gold. You better go make it. Alex Atkins joining LSU staff as tight ends coach and run game coordinator. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.